everybody. Welcome to Moms on a Mission. Today's episode, we just want to talk a little bit about one of our partners, Vicki Natali with Organic Body Essentials. If you go to organicbodyessentials.com, you're going to find some clean, healthy, toxin-free products. Vicki used to be an engineer and she was looking for a clean skincare line and could not find one. And so she created one called organicbodyessentials.com. And so if you like this show, if you like what you're hearing, if it's blessing you, if it's blessing others, please just not follow us and listen to us. But also if you go to organicbodyessentials.com and try out some of their products, they absolutely are amazing. We didn't want to talk about it until Julie and I tried it, and they're just so great. One of the products, the serum, has a natural sunscreen, red raspberry oil, and it's nice because you don't have to put sunscreen on. And then also it's cheaper because you're just buying one product. And most importantly, it's clean and organic. So organicbodyessentials.com, code MISSION, you get 5% off. If you order over $50, you get free shipping. So there you go, organicbodyessentials.com, code MISSION. So today we have back my awesome trainer, Ryan Davis, who really some of the things he's sharing, it's definitely outside the box thinking, but it's truth. And we are truth seekers and speakers here at Moms on a Mission. And so Ryan today is going to pick up where he left off last time. His studio is called Functional Fitness by Ryan. And that this is what he talks about. I've seen him, my husband's seen him for a long time. And this function element of fitness, most people want to lift weights and get buff and get big, but Ryan talks about that's fine, but he talks about functionality in your daily living and how you can tweak that to eliminate some pain. So Ryan Davis, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, and I want to let y'all know, Julie is going to pick up her daughter from camp. It's like 3 or 4 hours away, and she's headed there right now. So she's sorry she can't be here today, but she's doing the mom thing. So Mom's on a mission. She's on a bit of a different mission today. So anyway, that's where she is. So welcome, Ryan. And let's pick up where we left off last time. Last time we kind of ended and we were chatting throughout the show as well about how just some of our chronic daily patterns of the way we're sitting and the things that we're doing, how that can add up either positively or negatively. And usually you say it's negatively when people aren't aware. So tell us about that.
Yeah, kind of looking at how we see ourselves every day in life, while we're doing our tasks, whether it be sitting at the office, whether it be sitting on the couch, whether it be maybe going on a walk with the dog or anything like that, kind of like what we talked about last week about how some of those patterns can result in chronic tightness and dysfunction in the body. And we're kind of looking at a little bit of like some self-awareness and some self-introspection and kind of looking at ourselves from that third-party perspective and being able to break down our mechanics and how those positions that we chronically are buying into affect our function. So that's the big piece, looking at this self-awareness around our body as we connect with it.
And I just have to say, I don't know if you remember this, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but Ryan does not tell you this, but he's also a life coach. I remember when I first met him and I didn't want my other trainer to leave and he moved away. But I was told Ryan was the best, and little did I know he was the best of the best. And I don't know if you remember this, Ryan, but I was doing can't remember if it was a squat or deadlift, but anyway, one of those. And deadlift. Yeah. Okay. So he remembers everything. That can be good. It's usually good. But the weight was pretty heavy and he was looking at my form and it wasn't quite right. And he was trying to get me to do it correctly. Well, then I felt like I was going to fall over. So he's like, well, let's take some weight off. Well, I felt incredibly defeated. But now all these years later, I realize, you want to start these behaviors and have these patterns and the form correct. And then you do it correctly. And then you add weight. And that was my first introduction to this function element of fitness. And I think it's so imperative, teenagers, even adults alike, that it's good that you're going to the gym. It's good that you're walking the dog. It's good that you're doing these things. But if you're doing them incorrectly, you're really creating an element of damage as well.
Right. And I think the big thing there is that we just tend to go, which can be good and can be bad, without kind of thinking about things. And if you're going to embark on a dog walk or going to the gym even, your mind has to be bought into that as well, right? You don't want to go to the gym where, if you've been working 6 or 8 hours that day and you're going to go straight from work to the gym and transition into lifting weights, right? Or even transition into, walking the dog, right? Without addressing, perhaps some tightness that you accrued through the day. And the body responds to positions very quickly. Acute patterns, if you're sitting and you're leaning on your elbow, on your right elbow, and you're doing that 5 days a week, for 5 years, whatever it may be, you're going to have a muscle group, typically your latissimus dorsi or your pectoralis, that is going to respond to that.
Say those in layman's terms because I barely know what you said. I think I
Right.
know.
So
But
yeah, your latissimus dorsi would be like the underarm, right? So your pec
okay.
and your lat. Um, and that pattern may seem innocent to somebody who is not picking up on it, right? But after years and years of loading that right elbow, you're going to accrue fascia tightness and muscle tightness in those groups, right? And
Yeah.
that's just an example, but let's say you have that going on and you're like, man, my right wrist and my right elbow, my right side of my neck has been a chronic problem, right? Well, early in all this, you had fatigue probably build up in those muscle groups. You had sensations. The mind and the body were communicating, and you were unaware, right? Maybe you were just fully engulfed in your task at work or anything like that. But the body and the mind were talking, and it was saying, "Hey, just take 5 minutes real quick and stretch that pec and lat out. Just once a day. Just go ahead and address this tightness that we're accruing here, so we don't carry it with us day in, day out, right?" Um, Acute patterns, like I said, can be resolved fairly quickly if you're paying attention, right? Let's say you go on a walk and you notice your calf's getting tighter on that walk. Well, that's an acute response. Okay, that's an acute response to the walk. If I take the moment to stretch that calf post walk, now that acute response is defeated and I regain the function of that calf and I don't build this chronic pattern, right?
So speaking of
Well,
calves, I want to say something. I was working out with him on Tuesday, and for whatever reason, my calf was tight. And so when you're thinking about these things, I thought, oh, I want to address this right away. So he's like,
yes,
hop on the calf
perfect.
board. And I was like, oh, great idea. So I hopped on there and it was fine when I left. And I do like the awareness concept. I was going to ask if you could touch base on just like you said, the transition from work to the gym, or when you are just hanging out at home and you're like, I'm going to go golf, I'm going to go run, I'm going to go walk. Just how important is that stretching the fascia and warming up, not just to stretch, if you're at work and you were sitting, not to stretch your back or whatever, but warming up for whatever exercise you're going to be participating in, including just something as simple as walking. How important is that?
Oh, it's the make or break between success or failure as far as your overall performance goes. If you're expecting great things out of yourself, then you have to allow your muscles to be great, right? And that's the big thing. If I'm sitting on a couch and I'm crossing a leg over and I'm about to go rotate, right? I'm about to go use my trunk and I'm going to turn probably the furthest that I've turned all day, right? In my degrees of rotation, front to back, and I'm going to demand that my hips do the same, right? I need to ensure that those tissues are prepared to go through that range of motion, right? And that's the big piece. In any athletic event, I mean, look at kids, for instance. They carry around their backpacks all day, right? They go from class to class with their backpacks on or books in their hands. And if they participate in sports, this is big because if you have a right-handed baseball player and they are also they write right-handed and they put their weight on that right forearm, while they're writing on the desk and they overload that right side. If you transition from school to athletic performance, then you have lost range of motion in those muscle groups, right? And you have lost power, you have lost acceleration, You have lost the ability to whip the arm to its degree of range of motion that it needs to perform that task. Um, and and then you will have to suffer your performance, right? So
I'd like
that
to
is
ask you about some other, like, so yes, performance as it relates to sports, but what about, so at my church, we meet pretty regularly and we have an awesome piano player and guitarist, and sometimes our services, we have every, like, just a prayer meeting we're having this week, Monday through Friday. And the piano player's up there for a long time, and you're doing it day after day after day, or guitar with the strap and holding. So what about just things like that, like going into something like that, a musician holding a tuba or a flute or things like that? What do you recommend those people do prior to their performance?
Yeah, absolutely. There comes a level of, like anything, if you pay attention to your hunger long enough, you know when you're hungry, you know when you're not. Part of it is just being able to take the moment wherever you're at, take a minute to yourself and just ask yourself, what is my body, what are my muscles telling me right now, right? And when you look at like skills like piano playing and guitar, if you just take that moment to kind of maybe even look at yourself in a mirror while you hold the guitar, look at yourself in a mirror while you play the piano, and gain some insight about that position as it relates to what muscle groups are working. Is your shoulder forward? Is the right shoulder forward and the left shoulder back? Is the are you leaning to the right side while you're playing the piano? Is one hand doing a lot of reaching and one hand staying close to bass? Just knowing those things will help you address where you need to stretch, where you need to warm up, and things like that. And that's a great segue into, there's a website called physiopedia.com, and it goes over muscular function and anatomy. And you don't have to go dive in real deep, but it does help if you were to learn and focus on one muscle group at a time on there. Spend 3 minutes, click on the pec and just read about the pec for a moment, and see what it does and see where it attaches at and see the lay of the land. So when you look at yourself in that mirror, you can visualize that muscle, you can see it. And then you can go to YouTube and type in pec stretches, and you can start to address that tightness that you're feeling while you're playing the guitar, that tightness that you're feeling while you're playing the piano, right? Warm-ups are very important. And they don't have to be complicated. It's really, you're trying to get blood flowing to those tissues so those tissues don't get stiff and stale. So even things like 10 air squats before a performance is going to be better than doing nothing, right? It's about taking action, right? So if that's all you can do is 10 air squats, then do the 10 air squats.
Or 2 or 3 if people haven't really started working out.
Or 2 or 3, exactly. Right. If that's all you can do and that's all you can commit to at least that, and build your own routine for yourself. What works for you when you play the piano. Do you notice that after 2 minutes of stretching the pecs prior to playing the piano that you feel a lot better afterwards? Right? I mean, it just takes a moment, 2 minutes, and I noticed that after I'm playing, I'm a lot more open just from a 2-minute stretch prior to. But you can't gain that insight without the action before the activity, right? It does require paying attention. It does require taking a little bit of a note about, what did this stretch make me feel, and what did this stretch do post exercise? And if you can gain that insight from that, well, now you're making a change because you have a positive reinforcement. You have a habit that the brain likes. You have a sensation in the body that makes you feel good. And the ball will roll from there, big time. So
yeah, I think that's key because habits are so hard to change. And I read a book about habit stacking, and it talked about just adding, that habit to something else. So if there's something that you do before you play the piano, before you play the guitar, before you go for a run or play golf, I know my husband does a stretch with his golf clubs and he, twists his torso. So, he's already doing that. So if you can sneak in one more and add it to that and do it consistently, it can make a
Yeah,
world of difference.
absolutely. Even just like using your husband as an example, just using that simple exercise and just gaining more data around that exercise. Even you can take any exercise that you're doing and change your focal point to gather more information about that movement. If I've been doing this exercise for 15 years and I haven't turned any further, maybe it's time to push that envelope a little bit and rotate a little further. But you can't know that unless you're paying attention, right, to the
Yeah.
movement itself. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big piece, is just you have to be conscious of why you're doing what you're doing and what you want out of it. If you want more range of motion, then you have to kind of take some benchmarks and know where you lie right now, and that's the big piece to gaining and not losing
I think
function.
two words that come to mind are awareness and intentionality. And
Absolutely.
being more aware and focused, and then being intentional with what you've learned in your awareness. And I just want to say that I know that some folks, will be listening and thinking, that's all great, but like I'm busy, I'm tired, I have so many things I'm thinking about. But if you just think of one thing, like, if it's, I know Ryan's talked to me about how I drive. If I'm, if you have your left hand up on the steering wheel and your right elbow's on the console, like just try to think of one behavior that that doesn't look or feel balanced, and just working on that. Because sometimes you can think, okay, I'm supposed to warm up before I do this. I'm supposed, and it's just too much. And I think if you just pick one thing, and then the scripture I want to leave with you is Luke 137, and it says, for nothing will be impossible with God. And so I believe when you, and Ryan and I talk about this, when you bring in and weave in the spiritual element and just ask the Holy Spirit to help you do better in this area, and to remember, he's the spirit of truth, to help you remember, okay, I want to do better in this way. I want to warm up, and I just keep forgetting. Lord, please help me remember. I truly believe that he is going to remind you and help you do that, because you're trying to take care of your temple. So I know that when I talk to friends or other people and we talk about things like this, I think it can be overwhelming when you think about all the chronic movements you have in one day. But don't you think that's
Absolutely.
a good idea, Ryan, just to think of
Right, no,
one thing?
absolutely. And to pick one thing, I mean, and that's why I like to, kind of trying to look at yourself from a third party perspective. Because if you are somebody who spends 5 days at the office, what are two things that you can pick out about that desk posture that you can address, right? You don't have to address the whole body, but take the steps to just understand where to start, right? And it could be as simple as, you don't have to do the 10 air squats if you work at desk 5 days a week. Even just sitting on your couch and taking your wrist through its full range of motion, right? Stack your habits. Like you said, if you're going to watch TV and move your hands, and just kind of just flex a little bit.
I know somebody who watches TV and puts toe spacers in.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's
It's
really
great.
great because you don't have to do anything else. You just put them in. And he's talked about your toes too. Ryan's talked about the functionality of your toes and how that can affect, if your toes are close together and they're not spread out, they can't grip as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and those are great things, and those things, even if it's just that, right? Even if it's just one thing like that, if you just take that one thing and make it your own and own it, you will grow in knowledge. You will grow to connect with it, and that one thing can become multiple other things, and you'll be inspired. You'll become confident in it, and you'll gain what you're looking at. You'll gain traction.
Yeah, because I think the one good habit can lead to another, just like in a negative habit can lead to another, just has a ripple effect in your life. And you're definitely more motivated when you are successful in a certain area, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think we don't want to overwhelm anybody, at all by any means, by saying, you have to focus on all these things. And you don't, you really don't, when you eat, you focus on eating, right? So, there's a time in your day where you have a moment, if it's 5 minutes, even, just think about one thing about your body, and that could be your mind too, and just taking the moment to, just connect with yourself, and get away from the busyness and bring it back inside, and we're talking about muscles here, but this applies to a lot of different things, right? And just get some time back for yourself, and that can come in the form of exercise, stretching. It can come in the form of taking 5 deep breaths with a 5-second inhale, 5-second hold, 5-second exhale, 5-second hold, right? That's bringing awareness back to the breath.
Yeah.
And it's important to do that, so little things.
I like that. That's why we're going to have Ryan on again and again and again, because I think these things are so important. We talk about so many other things on this show too, but health and wellness and lifestyle medicine and doing things that you can to stay healthy and be healthy and invest in the health of your body without being reactionary, being preventative, and doing things ahead of time that are good for your body so that you don't have these aches and pains. And as you get older, you can continue to move your body to prevent, arthritic situations from setting in and things like that. So anyway, Ryan, thank you so, so much for coming on Moms on a Mission today and sharing your wealth of knowledge. We so appreciate it. I hear it every week, but I just think that so many people could benefit from it. So thank you so much for being on our show today. And thank you, audience, for listening today. We're so grateful. We'd love for you to follow us on your favorite platform, whether it's Rumble or Apple. It's super easy because then you get notified of a show, and then it helps us build our platform. And that's a way that you can support us. And then you can also support us with the organicbodyessentials.com and purchasing some things on there, or also mypillow.com, code mission on there as well. And you can save up to 66%. And they have a slew of things that you can purchase, whether it's sheets, robes, slippers. But if you like what you hear and it blesses you and encourage you, please support us. It's not free. And so we're so grateful for your support. We love that. And we love doing this. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. And you guys have a great day.
Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you.